This is the brand new Samsung Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, but interestingly, in some ways it is a downgrade from the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic. In fact, there are some features missing that were on the 6 Classic that we don't have on the 8 Classic. Of course, we have plenty of upgrades on here, but that got me wondering, is it worth it to buy the Samsung Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, or should you opt for the Watch 6 Classic? For example, here's one feature that was on the 6 but is not on the 8. If you want to recharge your Galaxy Watch 6 Classic on the back of a flagship Samsung phone, you can turn on wireless power share, set it on the back, and it charges. But on the newer Samsung watches, like the 8 Classic, if you turn on that same feature, you set it on the back, it looks like it will charge, but then you get a notification that the charger is not compatible. This feature is no longer able to be done on the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, which I would consider that pretty unfortunate. But the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic has some benefits. So throughout this video, I want to go kind of every other, what's better about the 6 Classic and what's better about the 8 Classic, to ultimately decide, is it worth it to upgrade and get the 8 Classic, or should you buy the older Galaxy Watch 6 Classic? So going through these, a positive of the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic that is not on the 6 is the button on the side. We have a new button called the Quick button, so there are now 3 buttons on that side. You can customize what it does, and there are maybe 4 or 5 different actions you can have for it, but the default one is going to be opening up your workouts, just an easier way to get into that. The Watch 6 Classic has a pretty substantial advantage here in that the straps are a much more traditional and available 20 millimeters. So unlike the new design, which has a proprietary Samsung little clasp that goes onto the body, you have to push the button on the back to release the strap, and therefore you can't use the standard 20 millimeter straps that many of us already have from older watches. You also can't use the Galaxy Watch Ultra straps on the new Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, whereas the older one, you could use pretty much any 20 millimeter straps. Now there is a solution to this. I found this on Amazon. I ordered one, it's coming soon. You can buy a little lug adapter. It's like $7 or $8, and that will allow you to use 20 millimeter straps on your Galaxy Watch 8 Classic. So kind of overcomes that problem. A positive of the Watch 8 Classic is that there is a lot of newer tech in here. One of them is going to be the newer processor. So this has the W1000. It's a 3 nanometer chip on here versus the W930, which is 5 nanometers on the Watch 6 Classic. Now, typically year over year, you see like very minimal experiential changes in terms of speed, but setting these side by side, you can see some pretty substantial differences in how fast you're able to open apps, navigate the watch. Like after using the Watch 8 Classic for a couple days, the Watch 6 Classic kind of feels pretty laggy to me. Of course, if you got used to it, I can't really say that it feels laggy long term, but that speed difference is pretty significant in my opinion. But the Watch 6 Classic has another very, very large advantage in that it comes in 2 different sizes, 43 and 47 millimeters, while the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic only comes in 46 millimeters. And there's an even bigger kicker I'll talk about in a minute, but getting back to a positive with the 8, this has more storage on here. So the old one was 16 gigabytes of storage, now we have 64 gigs. So maybe that's going to give you more room for like updates or photo storage or offline music or offline maps. There's a lot of things that you might use. I think 64 gigabytes is going to be really hard to fill. I think 32 is probably plenty for most people, but still having more than that 16 could be a big advantage. Now, getting back to that little size comparison as a major advantage for the 6 Classic, and that is the display size. Not only do we have 2 different body sizes, we have 2 different display sizes, and the new 8 Classic only gets the smaller of those 2 display sizes. So you have 1.34 inches and 1.47 inches that are available on the 6 Classic, and then only 1.34 inches on the 8 Classic. That means even if you look at the smaller Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, the 43 millimeter version, that has the same display size as the 46 millimeter Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, which means you have a significantly worse screen to body ratio on the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic. You just have more bezel, more stuff going on the outside of the watch, which is going to make it look a little bulkier. I don't really think the design is a big negative. In fact, I actually rather like the design on this watch. I'll talk more about some comments I've been getting about this in a second. It's going to be a personal preference here. Which one do you think looks better? Like I said, some people look at this and they're like, oh, that doesn't look like a classic watch at all. But there actually are a lot of classic analog watches that have kind of this square circle design. It's not really uncommon in the watch industry. And I think Samsung kind of made this pretty tasteful. Like, I know I'm going to get some heat for this and you guys probably won't agree. And originally, I absolutely hated this design, but I'm just saying after wearing it for about 4 or 5 days now, I'm starting to really like the design on the 8. Still, the 6 Classic is like really hard to argue with. It's just a classic circular watch, very easy to match with a lot of other clothing items. But the 8 Classic, getting to a positive with this, is that it has a better battery life. Now, Samsung technically doesn't claim that it has a better battery life, but in my experience, it does have a better battery life, and it makes sense if you look at the numbers. So the battery is 445 milliamp hours on the 1.34-inch display of the 8, while the older model, the 6, has a 1.47 or a 1.31-inch display, as I mentioned before, and the battery is either going to be 425 or 300 milliamp hours. So looking at the same display size, you're looking at 1.34 inches and 1.31 inches, approximately the same size, 445 milliamp hours versus 300 milliamp hours. So I would expect the Watch 8 Classic to easily outperform the older Galaxy Watch 8, especially when you're looking at the display, which uses a good amount of power on a watch. Now, I'll give some actual battery numbers after I've been wearing this for a little bit longer. Right now, I'm still testing out like always on display on or off, and I'm gonna see how much my battery actually changes on those different settings. I'll talk about that in a future full-length review. If you guys wanna see that, definitely get subscribed. But a positive for the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic is that it actually has two different colors. I know there's two different colors for the Watch 8 Classic, but believe it or not, these are both the black version of the Watch Classic. So the Watch 6 Classic actually looks very silver or very black, depending on if you get those colors. Whereas the Watch 8 Classic, the only real change besides the straps that it comes with is going to be the ring kind of around the watch face itself, inside of the bezel where the tick marks are. That's black on this one, and it's white on the other one. Also, the crown guard is black on this while it's not on the other one. But otherwise, the rest of the watch is this shiny stainless steel, which again, I think looks really nice, but you're not gonna be getting like the all blacked out colorway if that's really what you're looking for. A positive with the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic though, I think the stock band out of the box, like these new lug adapters, I kind of gave them a little bit of heat. I don't really like that they're not reverse compatible, but they are really comfortable, and I think the strap looks quite nice as well. So the stock band that it comes with, I'm glad to wear it. I think it's very comfortable. Whereas the old one, it kind of tends to like stick out of the watch further and then bend down, which weirdly puts more pressure on the inside of your wrist, which is kind of a pressure point you don't want to be pushing on. The Watch 8 Classic just fits smoothly like any other watch I've ever worn, like an analog watch, I mean, and like immediately, no adjustment for this. Very comfortable to sleep in, to run in, to wear. I feel like it doesn't move around nearly as much. It fits more comfortably on my wrist or more flat on my wrist, so I would suspect accuracy should also be better. Overall, I think the strap and the setup and the shape of this one feels a lot better out of the box compared to the older 6. But it's no denying the 6 has the big advantage of being a lot cheaper. It's a couple years older now, and you can buy it, I'm seeing it at the time of filming this video, for $320 for the smaller version from Best Buy right now. And I'll have links down below in case these prices change. You can check out those links. And the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic is $500, so $180 more expensive for the 8 versus the 6. I mean, if you are kind of on the fence, you don't know which one to get, then that could be a deciding factor for a lot of people. But that's not to discount the future-proofing of the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic. Obviously, being a newer watch, you're more likely to get more updates in the future, where it's going to last longer and be supported by Samsung longer because it's 2 years newer. So you already lost those 2 years on the 6 Classic. Also, the faster chip makes it more likely to handle those updates a little better than the 6 might have. The 8 additionally has some other perks, so I'm running out of perks for the 6. There's a lot more to talk about with the 8. One is going to be that it's a lot brighter, so 3000 nits peak brightness versus 2000. Honestly, in most daylight scenarios, you don't really notice that much of a difference, but in the brightest situations, that could be an advantage. One that you can debate in the comments and let me know what you think, but I would chalk it up as an advantage for the 8 Classic is kind of the little notches, a little knurling around the outside of the bezel, which make it not only look pretty nice in my opinion, but also much easier to kind of rotate that bezel, whereas the old one, still quite easy to rotate, but a little bit more subtle on that knurling on the bezel of the outside. So additionally, tying into that, I mentioned before the comments I was getting from other people. I've been wearing the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic for a very long time, and you definitely do get some comments. People do like it as a smartwatch, but wearing the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic in just a couple of days, I've had multiple non-watch people comment and say, I really like that watch. It looks really nice. It looks like an analog watch, and they actually really like the way it looks. So even though like the watch community, the Samsung watch community is a little bit unhappy with the design change here, I think it's kind of a welcome change, honestly. We've been having the same design for so long. Getting something different, like I said, I've been changing my mind on this, and I definitely like it a lot more now. Flipping the watch is over a big advantage on the back, and honestly the main reason that you're not able to charge the Watch 8 on the back of your phone is the biosensor, which has been improved. We saw this last year with the 7 series and the Ultra not being able to charge on the back of your phone because of that biosensor, and it does give us a lot of new features, as I'll mention when we get into the health and feature section of this video. As far as the thickness and the weight go, I can weigh these right now, and you'll see I'm going to weigh them. So the Watch 8 Classic is 86 grams, and that's including the strap that it comes with. And if I weigh the Watch 6 Classic, it is 85 grams. So we're looking at like a really similar weight between these. Getting into that section I mentioned about the features, which will be new on the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic compared to the 6 Classic. Of course, it does come with One UI 8, which we may be getting features like Gemini and stuff like that, maybe rolling out with One UI 8 to the Watch 6 Classic. You never really know when Samsung is going to roll out that update and when they're going to be giving different features to the Watch 6 Classic, but at least at the time of launch, the differences that we have right now, one is going to be vascular load, antioxidant index, sleep apnea detection, running coach, stress alerts, personalized functional threshold power testing or FTP testing, AGE's index, bedtime guidance, and a lot of those are going to be correlated to that new biosensor, so they're very likely to never go to the Watch 6 Classic. We also have some gestures like shake and knock-knock gestures, and there are a lot of other Watch UI features. The UI just looks different in my opinion, and I think many of those features I don't want to talk about too much because they're likely to roll back to the Watch 6 Classic. For example, if you just go through the tiles, they're now kind of all vertically stacked, so you've got like a health stack, a fitness stack, a basic stack, and I kind of really like the way that's set up. So you can go and look at like the basic stack, and it's going to have your calendar, your weather, your battery level of your phone and your watch, things that are kind of all in one group there. So I like the way that's set up. Oh, and of course, we should be talking about the accuracy. The Watch 8 Classic has a big advantage being dual band GPS versus the single band GPS we had on the Watch 6 Classic, which means that if you're in kind of more crowded spaces with tall buildings or mountains, or if you're in like a little canyon or whatever, the GPS should be significantly more accurate on the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic. We'll get into a test right now and see how the heart rate and the GPS actually compare though. Okay, so taking a look at the GPS first, we've got two files, the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic and the 8 Classic. The 6 is going to be red, and if I make this full screen, we can zoom in and you'll see that for the most part, they are pretty much neck and neck. This is an open area, so it should be fairly easy for them, but you will see a couple points where the red kind of deviates a little bit away, a little bit more drunk wandering, and then up here, when I was walking between an interval, you can see it really kind of got distracted there, and the red squiggled around a lot more than the green, which means the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic should be more accurate. And then if we check out the heart rate, by the way, I made this. This is smartwatchtools.com. It's free to use. If you guys have your own files you want to compare, you can totally use this. But you'll see that, again, we have the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic in red, the 8 Classic in that kind of greenish teal color, and then the Polar H10, which is our known accurate. That's our reference here. It is an ECG chest strap, and you'll see for the most part, they are pretty solid. Intervals are really difficult for watches, but these both did a really decent job, although I will note that the red, so the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, does tend to lag a lot more, so it takes longer to get up to the peaks, and it takes longer to get back down from the peak. So these are some 2-minute intervals, 2 minutes of running, 1 minute of not running, and so the intervals are definitely difficult, but if we go to some 1-minute intervals, that kind of really exacerbates what I was talking about. This one in particular, look how much the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic just completely missed that drawdown in heart rate, and then same thing here, it lagged again, so overall, it's not going to be quite as accurate as the 8 Classic, although I have to say, I'm very impressed by all of them. They're all close enough considering these intervals, and if we go to like the steady state at the end, they kind of do all lock in there. So if you're not running intervals, I wouldn't worry too much about this. This definitely should be fine. But if you are doing something more dynamic where you're changing your heart rate a lot, the 8 Classic is absolutely going to be more accurate based on my test. And you can actually see that up here in the R and the R squared values. So a higher number, closer to 1 essentially, is going to be better. And you'll see this is significantly better with the 8 Classic compared to the 6 Classic. But yeah, like I said, smartwatchtools.com. If you guys want to check this out, like I said, totally free to use. I just made it for fun so I could use it in videos, but feel free to try it out for yourself if you want to test out your own two watches with some GPX, TCX, or Fit zip files. So should you buy the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic or the 6 Classic? I mean, if money is a constraint, then $180 is $180, and maybe it's worth it to get the 6 Classic. But otherwise, I think the updates to the Watch 8 Classic do justify it for most people. The downsides being really mostly mechanical. You have the smaller display without the option for a larger version of the watch. It also is a little bit heavier, but with that, you are getting a slightly better battery life. So between the two of them, I guess really what I can say is, personally, I'm going to be wearing the Watch 8 Classic, but you can leave a comment and let me know which you prefer. I think of all the generations of Galaxy Watch Classics, this is going to be the most debated on which one's actually better.